Update on the mass shooting at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. A massive manhunt is underway at this hour for an active shooter. Authorities describe the suspect as a man dressed all in black. An official telling ABC News that the shooting occurred in a classroom where a study group was taking place. 2 people have died, 9 people were hurt. 8 of them are in critical but stable condition. Governor Daniel McKee saying a short time ago that they will catch this individual that has brought harm to so many. There's a massive police presence on the Brown campus. Federal, state, and local authorities all searching for that shooter. Faculty and students are being told to continue to shelter in place. Brown sending several emergency alerts. People on campus instructed to lock doors, silence their phones, and remain hidden. Officials say the first reports of an active shooter came in around 4 this afternoon at the engineering building where a final exam was underway. The school's winter break begins 1 week from today. President Trump earlier spoke to reporters.
I've been fully briefed on the Brown University situation, what a terrible thing it is. And all we can do right now is pray for the victims and for those that were very badly hurt, it looks like. And we'll inform you later as to what's happening, but it's a shame. It's a shame. Just pray. Thank you very much.
Let's go to ABC News contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett. Brad, what can you tell us about who law enforcement is looking for at this hour?
So, the information still is not specific, but I can tell you that so far that they've released. But I'll tell you that my sense would be we're now into 5 to 6 hours after the shooting, that the amount of information that you can quickly gather and this is really going to be around where the shooting occurred. I mean, for example, they have stated that it was in a particular classroom in the engineering building. And that may have a lot of relevance as to who the shooter might be. Why did he or she go to that room and commit this act? It could be he was targeting one particular person, but we'll have to see. Does it mean anything that it's the end of the school semester of some sort? I think they're in the middle of finals. Does that play into this? And the reason I say that, if it does, then it's relevant to who he is. Why would he go do that unless he has some issue with the school and or the whatever course they might be taking? I don't know, but it's all of that can give you additional information as to who he might be. If they have even video of him, whether it's good quality or not, if they can put that out at some point, it could be really helpful, because people may recognize his movements, his gait, the way he walks. And from my view, the more information that they can get out into the public, it's going to increase the odds that somebody's going to call them. Because folks, they don't like these things happening for the obvious reasons in their community. And people will say, that's a neighbor of mine or a person down the street, I think. And again, this is all going to be overlaid with what else they're finding on social media, through interviews, through cell phones that were on at the time of the shooting. All of these things will get better as the time passes because they'll get more information. So I think persistence will get them to this guy's door, I would think, in reasonably short order.
Brad, it's been about 6 hours since the first calls came in about this shooting. Where are we at this point in the investigation?
Well, I think they have a lot of information, partly based on what I've already described. But when you have information, and even if it's only partial, you then get another piece of information that might be connected to it. So a partial can then turn into maybe a person that you should be taking a closer look at because of what they found in interviews. As time progresses, and you want this resolved as quickly as possible, but you can only move a train so fast based on the intelligence that you have. And if they stick with it, which they're going to do, as more information comes in, and the more they keep this in front of the public, I think they're going to get somewhere with this case.
And authorities say they will be releasing video of the suspect. How important is that to the investigation?
Well, video is extremely important, even if it's not clear. You might recall, when Charlie Kirk was shot, that they had surveillance video of him running across the roof, and I think it didn't take people long to figure out who he was. And even if you didn't have video of that quality, I think any video of a person walking and moving could be enough for somebody to ID him. So it's always wonderful to have video. And hopefully they'll be able to release that, and it may well help them ID him.
There's also an overwhelming law enforcement presence in and around Brown University. How complicated is this, given that the campus merges into the city of Providence, into the residential areas?
Well, typically jurisdictions work and practice together when some mass casualty event or a crisis happens, even a natural disaster, as to what components do you need, how quickly can they come together, and do they know exactly sort of what their role is once they get there. Because we have, sadly, so many mass shootings, the idea of FBI, ATF showing up just to help, it may not be a case that they would end up being the lead, because it would typically have to be, if it was the FBI, some terrorism-related or civil rights-related violation. But they're not there to take over the case, they're there to help. And so the reason I point that out is that people know that you can rely on certain agencies to do certain things and to work together, in this case, with the local authorities to help ID this kid through, technical stuff like phones, how to get certain types of court orders to pull down all the cell phones that were being used at the time, and things like that. ATF can help with firearms, and it doesn't sound like they have a firearm, but if he had a weapon at all that was throwing casings out, they know what they are, and the idea is it may give them some lead as to the type of weapon. And keep one thing in mind: typically mass shooters get their weapons, either they buy them a reasonably short period of time before the shooting, or they're around them, they're in their home, and they typically get them legally. So all of those things ATF might be able to help track back, based on the caliber and so forth of the bullet. That can be a big lead to follow, but it's another direction.
Still much work to be done. Brad Garrett, thank you.